Audi alteram partem. Remember this term? By Mr. Minister of Stadiumology. Remember the gentleman? The former spokesperson of the African National Congress. Easy Godwa. Audi alteram partem. Hear the other side. You hear in the news that somebody's been accused of malfeasance, corruption, and so forth, fraud. And as a society nowadays, we're quick to react to that, given how deep corruption is in this Republic of South Africa. Audi alteram partem. Hear the other side. The famous report by Terry Mutau, the VBS, the humongous, gigantic bank heist. We know there's been a whole lot of multi-billion fraud scandals that happens with other huge banks by billionaires in South Africa. That dwarfs this little overblown billions and billions of story. You know, this sensational headlines like the Nkandla, also it had a sensational headline, and now we got the state capture, which is also sensational. And then you hear stories about fully stocked fridges with cows in them, and stacked cases of liquor and so forth. And then every time when you hear the other side, the story becomes mood. So it's always a case like this. Now, Mr. Msiza, anyone of you remember Msiza, one of the heavyweights in Limpopo? I think he's in the top 6, the Treasury General of the ANC, top 6 there in Limpopo province. Danny Msiza, he went to court because he was being mentioned in this VBS scandal, and the judge said, listen, Mr. Report Maker, you didn't give Mr. Msiza, Danny Msiza, an opportunity for him to be able to answer some of the questions and before you put out your report. And part of that case then was being put aside. And on top of that, Mr. Msiza has been reinstated. Obviously, he's back at work with Florence Radzelani, also one of the top 6 in the ANC in Limpopo province. Now, so it makes one thing. Today's big story is the mayor of eThekwini. She's back. She's been given a new job. She's in the provincial legislature in the KZN. She's an MPL. She's been sworn in. And I remember most people were saying that she was on the faction side of former President Jacob Zuma. She was going to court, and even now the case was always being postponed, and she wanted to challenge this case by just saying, listen, just strike this case off the roll, because now I've been suspended, I'm not working, let's just chuck this whole thing aside. So we're seeing a whole lot of dynamics in terms of the factions in fighting. The two elephants are, the saying of when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that gets damaged. The grass would be the populace, the people of South Africa. Imagine a world where the South African politicians under the ANC are doing their job without having to have factional issues and factional fights. Never mind if it's going to be a shoddy job, an incompetent job, just for them on a daily basis, just doing their job, fulfilling their policies. Never mind you don't like their policies. Just imagine of that day, a month without hearing factional fights. Just recently, the Minister of Police, Cadre, has commented about Ace Mahashule's statements of saying that he believes that his phone is being tapped, there are people who are following him, and Cadre just said, no, there's no evidence to that. If there's anyone who's got information regarding that, then they must furnish the information. Remember, Cadre was lobbying for President Cyril Ramaphosa to be a president. So he's on the CR17 faction. And then Ace Mahashule is on the RET faction, or you could say the Zuma faction, or Minister Nkosazana Dlamini side of the wing. So this skirmishes just continue. It continues each and every single day as the ANC is grappling into getting hold of steering their ship into the right direction. But the only problem is that you have the other wing of the power in Lutuli House, the Secretary General of the ANC, with certain powers in terms of reinstating other folks who then be booted out when they are deemed or seen to have been accused of corruptions and fraudulent activities. So it never stops. A few days ago, you've seen Cadre, the MKV, the veterans leader, also talking about the NEC's problems, being split 50-50, and as a result, making it difficult for the ANC to be able to do its daily job. So it never stops. Don't forget that the ANC also has a cash flow problems in terms of paying its staff, which is a telltale where an organization that's governing the country can't be able to manage its finances. It can't be able to manage its employees. And this is a model, communist socialist models of your EFF, but where they think that the government can be able to run all these industries. Well, each and every commie will tell you, but the other commie is not practicing communism very well, is not practicing socialism very well. I'm sure the EFF will say, if we run the government, we're not going to be doing what the ANC is doing, And at the end of the day, in most cases, all these organizations, they want to centralize power. So they will fail. They don't want to take responsibilities and give it to the localized communities, the municipalities, the local government, the provincial government. They would fail dismally there because of cadre deployment, where you take your friend to be able to operate someone, where else they are not qualified to be doctors. Obviously, I'm just giving an example, telling your cadre to go fly an aeroplane who's not a pilot. And then when things fails, when the municipalities can't be able to raise money, not being able to be profitable, when the tenders are being then dispatched locally and provincially, you'd say, you know what, I think we are unable to control this whole flood of people committing corruption, fraud all over the show. What we're going to do now, we're going to centralize tendering by the government. So we're going to be having 10 to 15 people who are going to be in charge of tendering. Okay? If Limpopo wants to have a tender for construction of roads, they have to come to a central place where would then be able to check the administration regarding that and disperse a tender governmental contract. If Northern Cape also wants to have a tender regarding some other services, the central tender committee will be able to take charge. Now, that's what we call centralizing power. Centralizing power, it's what communism and socialism is all about. You're going to have few people. You're going to have 15 people who are going to be influenced by people with big pockets. in order for them now, at the end of the day, to have few or oligopolies to run the states. Politicians like calling it, monopoly, white monopoly capital, but there's no monopoly capital. You'd have a duopoly, oligopolies, maybe 10 prominent companies that are very powerful. And when they see the government coming up with policies which are going to hinder them from being able to do their business well, they start jockeying for position in order to fund the politicians, so that those politicians are then going to relax the regulations on them for them to be able to do business. And as a result, they become being in the pocket of the politicians. That's what statism is. Most people would say, this is capitalism. No, it's not capitalism. It's crony capitalism. It's a few number of corporate companies, owners, and a few number of politicians who then get married together in terms of doing business deals, increasing each other's palms for them to live happily with each other and not bother each other. And as a result, that makes small businesses and medium enterprises to then fall by the wayside, and nobody would care about them in order for them to be able to penetrate the markets, because they would have no chance in terms of competition. That's why you have the so-called competition commission also, and I can bet you that it's also going to be one of those arms of the state which are then going to be penetrated by few people in order for them not to be consistently being fined amounts of money, or for them to also want the competition commission to fine them amount of money and for them to continue doing business. In other words, they will have deals, illegitimate deals with the government officials who are at the top, and then they corner the market, not because of free market capitalism, but because of being friends with folks in the government, vice versa. And then they run the whole market, and then the competition commission will come through and say, you have increased the prices by 200%. We're going to fine you 10 million rands. And then they negotiate, they call their friends, and then they negotiate the fine to 5 million. And meanwhile, they would have made like 1 billion on that deal. So the society of South Africa will be like, yay, the government is doing a good job. They'll find that company again. Where else is like a whole clown show. I know there's something that I'm forgetting to talk to you about. Oh yes, just wrapping it up when talking about incompetence of government, right? Most people, the government, the ANC's constituency, the unemployed, the majority. Remember, the majority of people in South Africa are unemployed, and therefore when the majority of people in South Africa are unemployed, they're in rural areas, everything that the government is doing for them, they are so super grateful, and they will go again and vote for them. The ANC is also failing to satisfy that constituency of the unemployed. Okay, the article for today, Times Live, states 50 rand for transport to collect 350 COVID-19 grant. What causes this? Limpopo beneficiaries claim local post offices are not paying out grants. See that? So your nearest post office, you go over there, you try to get assistance in terms of being paid that 350. The post office like, nah, we're unable to do that. Try another post office. This is rural area. These are rural areas. Then you get into a taxi, you pay 25 rand to go to the post office. You get your 350. Then you pay another 25 rands, come back, and then from your 350, you've already got 300 bucks. Utter incompetence. And this is order of the day. It's plenty Plenty. Like I said, was it John Lennon who got the song called Imagine? To say, imagine a year where the ANC just wake up in the morning and go do their job without factional fights, without corruption issues, without being sidetracked by anything, just doing their job. However incompetent they would be with that job. Wouldn't it be nice for us now to be pointing out the incompetence of the ANC government in terms of doing their 9 to 5, in terms of how garbage their policies are, their economic policies, in order to tackle unemployment, in order to tackle poverty, in order to build infrastructure, just critiquing them on that issue. Just imagine, that will be a half job done. It will be their pass mark, the 30%. Or the incompetent, you're like, yeah, this is the ANC. But no, each and every single day, the ANC is in the news, chastising, lambasting, criticizing the ANC. The ANC toying and marching to Lutuli House against the ANC government. The ANC showing up outside the house of someone else who's then been racially been violated, and where else the ANC could just write policies, okay, and come up with ways of improving societies to such an extent that nobody would need the ANC doing outside their house, or the EFF doing outside their house, to saying that we're going to give you support in terms of finding you a lawyer to fight whatever injustice that you'd be facing. But you know what? This is the ANC's constituency, so you have to keep them poor. You have to keep them wanting something from you. You have to keep them thinking about how they can put the food on their table. You have to talk about how your SASSA programs are, your 350, how you're taking care of the poor and the old folks, for them to continuously vote for you and come up with rhetorics about how evil business is. Something that when you work for a so-called white monopoly capital, you come back home with your money, you'll be able to take care of your kids, take them to better school, make them have a better education so that they can have a better future. See what I'm talking about? But you can't afford to have the populace being educated to be able to work and not now worry about what they're going to eat tonight. But for them to now start scrutinizing the policies and what could make their life being better now, having houses, having a little bit of properties, having a bit of businesses, and now your problems and your needs from the government will be a little bit different from when you are unemployed, and you'll be having more time to be able to scrutinize other policies and be able to shop around for your votes and see, now that my life has improved, I don't need a grant. Who can I put my vote for? I'm in a neighborhood where now I need an airport. Just to give an exaggerated example, I'm staying at a place where I think we would have to have a runway over here. Clearly, you can't be voting for the ANC. Hopefully, there are going to be parties. I mean, there are over 100 parties each and every time. People should just go through them, check their policies, and see which one is tailor-made for you, more or less, and then you vote for that party. We don't have 3 political parties. We have to make fundamental changes. Anyway, that's the show for today. Thanks for watching the Mamu G Show. I'm out.